Our next speaker has over 20 years worth of experience within youth ministry and dealing with intergenerational people. She was heavily involved with her husband. I was about to say her youth husband, which sometimes, yeah. So, fun fact though, in high school, she was part of mock trial, and her team placed second in the nation. But what's better than that is that she was actually, I wouldn't say awarded, the #1 lawyer in the nation for mock trial. Now, why is that important? Because it's important for you all to know that she wins all the arguments at home. Blake Davis does not stand a chance, so if you would please give a warm round of applause for my friend, Mandy Davis.
Thanks, Sebastian. I hadn't thought about that in a long time. All right. So I am going to talk to you a little bit about intergenerational ministry and the power of that and what it looks like. You know, I loved what Vicki was saying about how she is so intentional about making sure that there are different generations within the context of women's ministry and being able to sit down with people of all age groups. And that is so incredibly important. So first of all, I want to tell you just a little bit about myself. I am Mandy. I did win that award a very, very long time ago. Blake and I actually met here at Council Road on a Tuesday night Metro Bible study in the year of 2001, long time ago. And Blake grew up at this church. We've been in ministry for a long time, 22 years, came back here summer of 21. And these are our 2 kiddos. Okay, so we'll go ahead and dig into the topic of today. I wanted to share with you a personal story from my past, and it all starts with a little note. So my youth pastor came to me when I was in the 8th grade. My dad had just lost his job, and he sat me down and he said, I have had someone within our church family come to me and they want to sponsor you. They want to scholarship every single youth event you do from here on out. The only thing they ask is that you write a note after each and every youth event telling them what God taught you. That very simple task completely changed the course of my life. I didn't walk into a youth event anymore to be entertained. I had to think consciously about what I was learning and what God was doing in my life. And then I never knew this person. I didn't know who they were. They were anonymous to me. But every time I wrapped up a youth event or Falls Creek or whatever it was, I would send them a letter. On my senior Sunday, she brings me a scrapbook full of every letter I had ever written her and all of the things that God did throughout my life in those years. That became a relationship that lasted until she passed away shortly after my kiddos were born, but one that really impacted my mind on why we need relationships with people that are not our own age. So as we continue, these are the generations, and there are a lot of them, and they are difficult. And just like in everything else in our society, people are trying to separate, and we are trying to push just that gap farther and farther and farther away. You can't understand me because you weren't born in the same time as me. You can't understand what I'm going through or listen to you because I don't agree with 100% of your values. And I mean, even scrolling through social media and videos and TikTok, so many of the funnies, and they're super funny, talk about the differences between the generations. But my goodness, there is a lot of wisdom that is to be shared amongst the generations. So let's go ahead. First of all, is intergenerational ministry biblical? Well, let's just see. If you look at Scripture, this is one of my favorite ones, is Psalms 145:4. One generation shall commend your works to another and shall declare your mighty acts. It's not a suggestion, it's a must. And if we don't do it, our society is not going to. We do not live in a Christian worldview. Okay, and then Titus 2, I'm not going to read this, but this is the entirety of why intergenerational ministry is important as a mom, as a wife, as a woman, just as a Christian believer. This is what we are called to do. And it talks about the older. I just want you to look at verse 2 right there. It says the older men and the older women. It doesn't say just old, okay? Just so you know, it just doesn't just say old. It says older. So if you are a 20 or 30-something in here, you are older than somebody. And if you are a 70 or 80-year-old in here, you're still older than somebody. And you have people that you are called upon to be relational with. Okay, let's continue. So biblical examples, there's just a few. We'll go ahead and continue on. We also have biblical relationships. I want you to look at some of the most powerful relationships in the Bible were intergenerational relationships and mentorships. And what's so cool is that you see Moses mentored Joshua. Then who did Joshua mentor? And I can tell you, after 20 years, that's one of the most beautiful things about being in ministry is to see people that you poured into now pouring into other people and doing a whole lot better job of it. Okay, next is that where it's wanted. So Lifeway did a study, and 45%, even though you may be scared of teenagers need you. They desperately need you. 20-somethings, they need you. We were just talking at our table that young parents, they have 15 babies and kiddos in your small group. I don't have kids that age anymore, but I can babysit for you sometime and give you a night out, right? Okay, let's continue on. I want you to think about 3 things. Age. So first, acknowledge it. I mean, seriously, I was sitting down with one of the kids at Big Weekend, and she goes, you're old and stuff, so you might be able to help me. And I'm old and stuff, and I love that I'm old and stuff. And I was giving a training earlier this week, and we were talking about something, and I said MapQuest, and all of the 20-somethings in the room just kind of looked at each other, and what did she really just say, MapQuest it? We acknowledge that we are of a different generation. Like, I get it. There are going to be conversations and things that we say that just don't work and that are old and stuff. So acknowledge it. The next thing I want to talk to you guys is about grace. So I talk about this with the youth a lot, is the fact that we all measure each other in different ways. We measure each other based on expectation. You come up to somebody and you already have an expectation of what you think they're going to be, or what you think they should be, especially if they're in a different generation than you. I think you should act like this, or be like this, or think like this. And from one generation to the other, it's like working with somebody within the metric system and the standard system. They're looking at a completely different ruler. But what we have to do is we have to measure it on grace. And we have to use the measuring tape of the maturity of Christ, which is exactly what Landry was talking about. When we measure people of a different generation, we can't say, man, you should be this way. They didn't live the same way you did. They're not surrounded by the same things that you are. It's not going to work. You have to take it out and go, I'm going to measure you with God's goodness and grace and love, and let that fill the gap. Next is eternal conversations. We can argue about a lot of things. We're really good at it. And we can be divided over a lot of things. But if you're going to be successful in having intergenerational relationships, you've got to talk about things that are eternal and have eternal consequence. They're hungry for it. They want it. You want it. You want it. And you need it. It's literally why we were created. All right, really, really, really fast. I know I'm going over, and I'm so sorry. So what does this look like? I want to tell you guys really quickly about something that we did that worked so, so well. It all started with a thing called Elegant Evenings in our girls' ministry. Our girls came up to me, and they were like, oh, my goodness, Miss Patty makes the best chocolate chip cookies. I'm like, she does. Let's learn how to do that. And so we went to our minister's, our senior pastor's wife and said, Miss Patty, will you teach us how to make cookies? And that started what was called Elegant Evenings. And women within our church took on tasks that they were really, really good at and very talented and confident in. And we didn't come and ask them to talk to a big group of people about theological matters. We had somebody that led how to do floral arrangements, who owned a florist shop, and she said, I'm with people in their best moments and their worst moments. Weddings and funerals, it's a ministry. We had people come and talk about about hospitality with books and books of versions of these are the people that I've hosted in my homes. This is their favorite meals. These are their food allergies. I'm like, that's incredible. But guys, if we want our generation to change, we've got to teach them. And these kids don't have life skills. They have this as a coping mechanism. I don't even have my phone up here, but that's their coping mechanism. But if we teach them what their giftedness is and how to use it in practical ways, and that they are built for a purpose that is greater than this world, that's going to change. And it's going to change you too, because I still have a lot to learn. I'm old and stuff, but I have a lot to learn. And I want to learn that. But we've got to be intentional about how we do it. We've got to be able to be in front of people that are different ages than us. So think about the kids and think about the people that are 10 years older than you and 10 years younger than you. And how are you pouring into them? If you are serving in church, you should be training somebody to take your place. Who's going to take your place? You're not always going to be here. So if you're a greeter, ask one of our students to come and help greet. I don't know if that's even allowed. but whatever it is, however you serve, if you're making a funeral meal, teach them how to make those really good chocolate chip cookies. Whatever it is. But they got to learn from somewhere. And so do we. We need to learn from somewhere too. I want to know how to be a great grandma one day long from now. Okay. Thank you guys.